and welcome to Business 110. This is Chapter 5, and this is all about small businesses and managing your own business. Now, in Chapter 4, we talked about small proprietorships or sole proprietorships. Those are when you and only you own it. So we're going to kind of build on that in this chapter. So let's talk about what's in it for me if I start my own company. Greater financial success is probably the number one reason why people say, I want to start my own business. Followed closely by, I want to set my own hours. I want to be independent. I want to go to work whenever I want to go to work. And as we talked in Chapter 4, customers can be demanding. You actually don't get to go to work whenever you want to go to work. You get to go to work when the customers want you to go to work if you want to have a successful company. Flexibility, again, some people really like the idea of being able to set your own hours. Again, I remind you, most small businesses fail, and most of them fail because they failed to realize how much work it takes to run a small company. Some people just like the challenge. I want to build this. I want to have the pride of ownership. And then the next reason, or one of the reasons that people give to start their own company, is just for sheer survival. Before I came to work here at Mitchell, I worked with 18 to 24-year-olds that were at risk and couldn't find jobs. Most of what I worked with had been involved in the justice system. If you have been involved in the justice system and have a felony, it is almost impossible to find a job. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it is very difficult to find a job. Most of those people do something like start their own lawn company or start a painting company or start whatever company because they don't have many options. You see this a lot in third world countries. They don't have any options. There's no people that's going to hire them, so they start their own company. So, entrepreneur is one of the 4 basic building blocks of business. If you remember, we talked about human resources, natural resources, entrepreneurship, and capital. Some people add knowledge into that. So, what is an entrepreneur, right? First of all, it's an extremely difficult word for me to spell. I don't know what it is about the spelling of that word, but I can never spell it. So your book lists a bunch of characteristics of an entrepreneur. I have found another list. I just like the list I have better, but an entrepreneur is a person that starts a company. Now, ironically, most entrepreneurs are not very good at managing a company. They're great at starting them, but then it kind of loses its fun when you got to get up and do the daily grind, 9 to 5, figuring out who our suppliers are, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of loses its fun. Probably right now, one of the most famous entrepreneurs is Elon Musk. Bill Gates is an entrepreneur. These are people that have a vision. They think they know a product that's needed, and they have the energy and the confidence and the tolerance for failure and uncertainty to bring that product to fruition. One of the things that almost every list of entrepreneur characteristics is going to have something called an internal locus of control. That is extremely important, especially if you're going to run your own company. Either you feel like you happen to life or life happens to you. And if you feel like you happen to life, then you have an internal locus of control. Another way for me to say this, and I think that this is something that you all can relate to, every good grade that a student gets is because they worked hard. every bad grade that a student gets is because the teacher doesn't like them, or it's the teacher's fault. Getting a good grade and thinking that it's because you worked hard is an internal focus of control. Getting a bad grade and thinking it's the teacher's fault is an external locus of control. So I hope that kind of explains that. And again, that is a huge reason why entrepreneurs are successful, because they don't blame others. It's me. I can control the situation. And again, just I touched on it briefly, tolerance of failure. Most entrepreneurs don't think of failure as something bad. Failure is an opportunity. Okay, this one didn't work. I think it's a commercial. It might still be on, I'm not sure. But it says Thomas Edison found 99 ways that a light bulb didn't work. So see, they kind of flip the script and say, okay, I learned something. I learned that that didn't work. So that's kind of a characteristic of an entrepreneur. So let's talk about ways that you can fund your own business. Number one is personal resources, your own money, okay? You're going to you're going to look at yourself and say, hey, I have this much saved, whatever. You can also get a loan, but loans are very difficult to get for new companies. Lots of banks will not give you loans. Another one is crowdfunding, GoFundMe, Kickstarter. You've heard of companies being able to get started this way. With social media, I think it's becoming even more popular. You go on TikTok and can, kind of start a viral video type thing. And then the last two are angel investors and venture capital. These two are essentially the exact same thing. An angel investor is an individual, and a venture capital is a company. And what they do, if you've ever seen Shark Tank, this is a wonderful example of what they do. An angel investor will say, I'll give you $300,000 for 30% of your company. And the venture capital is a company that says the exact same thing. I'll give you $300,000 for your company, but you got to give 30% of the ownership to me. This is a great way to raise money, but here's the thing. Once you've given up 51% of your company, it's not your company anymore. And a lot of entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they don't want to have to answer to anyone, I guess is the best way to say it. They have that energy and that confidence and that vision, and they don't want to have somebody over their head saying, I own 40% of this company, tell me what you're doing. So I caution people, it's a great way to raise money, and like I said, if you've ever seen Shark Tank, you're well aware of how it works, but you really got to put some thought into that. Is that really the way you want to go down that path? So one of the things that I don't have listed here, because we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about it, is a business plan. A business plan is absolutely 100% essential. You must do it to run a company. Even on Shark Tank, they'll ask you, what's your business plan? What's your marketing plan? What are your sales? What is your revenue? What are your expenses? You have to have all of that information when you ask somebody to invest in your company. And the way to get that information is by a business plan. So your book talks about all the different things that go into a business plan, and you are going to be making a business plan this semester. We're going to get started with it probably this week. Well, no, next week. I'm sorry. Next week, you're going to get started with your business plan. I'm going to show you a typical business plan. Now, bear in mind that most business plans take about 6 months to write. So I'm not asking you to write an 100% accurate, in-depth 300-page business plan. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but I am going to ask you to think about all the different things that would go into a business plan. Things like, what is your vision? What's the overview of your company? Are you a sole proprietor or are you a corporation? What are your products and what are your service plans? What's your marketing plan? What's your management plan? What's your operating plan? What's your financial plan? What other documents do you have to support all of this? What's the research? What's your target market? All kinds of different things go into a marketing or into a business plan. And that is the final project of this class, is to write a business plan. It's also one of the learning objectives for the entire business department. It's one of the things that if you were to graduate from Mitchell with a degree in marketing and you couldn't write a business plan, I would be embarrassed, okay? It's that important. And so really important that you kind of get an idea of what a business plan is. The Small Business Administration actually has kind of a it's not very large, but it's kind of a template. But a good business plan has more than that information in it. And I typically get asked, how long is a business plan? And for this class, excuse me, we're looking probably, at about 25 pages. So this is no wimpy assignment. So we'll probably get started next week on it, just so that you have an idea of what you're doing. So to end talking about running and managing and starting your own company, I want you to look at, and this is from 2019, so I need to update it a little bit more, but the most successful entrepreneurs in the U.S. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford. Number 3 surprised me, Oprah. Then Bill Gates and Larry Page. I'm sure Elon's on the list somewhere now, but just kind of gives you an idea of some of the things that people have been able to make a lot of money as entrepreneurs. So, hope you understand what an entrepreneur is, why you would start a business, what your funding options might be, and the importance of a business plan. Thanks.